Well, here to help our investment pros, and we have a full house tonight. Jim Frischling is here. He is president of NewOak Capital. Hillary Kramer, president and CIO at A&G Capital. Scotty Nell Hughes, TPNN.com news director, small business expert, Susan Solovic, and Matt. I guess we know you so well that we just don't even, we just say Matt. So first, though, we do want to go to the real deal. Jim, over to you. Fixed income, how do you see the world?
Yeah, while I agree it was a very good day for the market, the bond guys are not necessarily in agreement with Matt's enthusiasm. And usually he and I are often on the same page, but 30-year actually wasn't moving very much. In fact, even got a little tighter, suggesting that the GDP report may not be as strong. For example, government spending played a big part in that. Business spending actually not almost half of what it was in the last quarter. So I think while it was a good report and we're happy to see it, I think the bond guys were suggesting that while QE less than important, interest rates incredibly important. If the Fed moves too soon, I think the bond guys are saying there's trouble ahead.
I agree with Jim, and the reason I think it...
But divide the Fed into two areas. One is QE, which I agree. I think it has been really far less important than people would credit on it, and the market showed that today. Interest rates, I'm in the camp that I do think the Fed is helping to fuel this rally. The last time I was on, I mentioned a risk-on scenario, and to define that, it's if you can get no money in money markets, no money from CDs, which you can't, then you're going to have to put your money somewhere, and the stock market is right now one of the more attractive places to put capital.
And the stock market, those equity markets are going to continue to rally, and all cylinders point to that today.
So we have a WY,
I think WY
but we have a slowdown in Europe, a slowdown in China, and it's essentially a recession going on in Europe. So the U.S. is the best of the rest, but that doesn't mean we're having our own robust recovery. We're having a modest,
we're the cleanest dirty shirt in the closet.
The run that we've seen, we've technically can note as traders that the market is off to a really good start as we head into.
Guess where our gasoline taxes go to build our roads? You're about to see an issue down the road if we keep this up, though. For these local municipalities, they're going to have to put more taxpayer dollars into building and fixing their own roads and bridges.
But
the thing I've been looking at is why are oil prices going down? They're going down because of ramped up production. Sure. The U.S. is producing more. Saudi is flooding the market. And there are questions about slowdowns. But to me, in the mid-'80s, we had a period of absolute decline in oil prices to the tune of 30%, and yet GDP grew, I think, about 3.5 from 85 to 87. So we can have a positive GDP and lower gas prices and lower oil prices, but now to make money on this, be careful. Certain states are going to feel it. Certain industries, oil companies are going to feel it.
Texas is already having an issue right now.
It's going to be very good. E-retailers are going to be very good, but not everyone's going to win.
Okay, Hillary, what's the best?
I want to add to this is low wage growth, lack of lending, and a lack of savings. So is the middle class being squeezed? Yes. The securitization market actually helped uplift the quality of life for a lot of Americans because the lending are set on this because people often are living beyond their means. I actually off debt is the top three. I'd like to eliminate that from the criteria because I'm not so sure that they should be in debt in the first place. I would have liked the other one.
Yeah, but you have to be careful because college debt outside of mortgage debt is actually the biggest in the United States right now. So you don't want to punish people for wanting an education.
And I think
there was a McKinsey study that said 72% of educational institutions felt their recent graduates were ready for work. 42% of employers said recent graduates were ready for work. So I'm not going to pick on this class, although I'll agree with you, not paying for it. But the fact is we have a jobs issue, a jobs gap. We also have a skills gap. And the issue I'm highlighting is simply, are our graduates ready for work? And I'm not...
Listen, I thought this was insane at first.
Will a GOP-controlled Congress be able to fix the economy? Jim, what is your take on this as an investor?
I think there's a chance it leans to the yes, but it is not easy because the question is what's going to get done in the last 2 years of the president's of his presidency. The Democrats are talking about the drop in the unemployment rate. The Republicans are talking about the people who have left the workforce. To me, the one number I want people to think about is labor participation rate,
it's the lowest
which is at the lowest in 36 years. So when people are looking at this recovery, the economy to the average American means jobs. So without tax reforms, without clarity, corporations are going to have a hard time spending.
But we're not going to get that, Jim.
We're not going to get it. So that's why I said leaning a little bit, but we're really not going to get it.
My only hope is that...
I want to pick up on something you said, Jim, because for the average American, if you have a job, you feel good. If you don't have a job, you don't feel good.
Right.
What I look at with that labor force participation rate is every month it's something like 3.5 million jobs go unfilled because we do not, in theory, have the right math or science skills. So that brings up a larger issue that honestly has nothing to do with politics, except maybe in the case of H-1B visas, how many immigrants you're going to let let in, or how many immigrants are allowed to stay?
Well, one of the reasons I think the wage growth is still going to be under pressure is there are so many unemployed people that the fact is companies do not have to spend more to find quite a bit of talent. But the talent you're speaking of, they do have to spend more.
Yeah,
Those
they can ask for what they want. Engineers, I mean.
And what we're starting to see is some very interesting movements to start these P-Tech programs, these technology.
I was going to say, if anybody, nieces, nephews, kids, tell them to teach themselves how to code.
But same thing we heard from Obama in his re-election campaign. You didn't build that business.
A lot of people are comparing Hillary Clinton's comment to President Obama's comment, which actually I'm going to say I think was taken out of context, and I'm also going to say didn't help defeat him in that election. So be careful you run with this. Clinton's comment, however, was well scripted, read clearly, and now she's backtracking, saying that's not what she meant. It was actually about tax breaks and corporations. I don't think she can back off that comment. I agree with you. Small businesses create jobs, and anything to do to help that reduce the regulation, reduce the red tape, lend more money. I think that is where
the government has never been in the business of creating long-term sustainable jobs. Short-term.
There are many apps where people can access from smartphones, from tablets. They monitor their diets, they count their calories, all on the go and all for free. So, Jim, tech versus people. I'm picking on the guys first, so heads up, Matt.
And I could use a little Weight Watchers help, but the truth
that was not implied.
Okay. But the truth is, this is a battle in some way between free and not free. It's also, Weight Watchers is not just competing with Nutrisystem and Jenny Craig. They're competing with Nike, Whole Foods, and a myriad of other companies that want a piece of this $60 billion health market. If they don't change their ways, they'll go by the way of the VCR, the public payphone, probably movie rentals.
All right, I want to throw in, and maybe the ladies will.
And that is amazing, but I love this. I think everybody's going to eventually own a GoPro, but where do you go from there?
I just continue to worry, or I guess. I think they're a camera company, and they're being valued as though they're this media company. And I know they have plans to get there, but I still think that's a big promise.
The extreme sports is a big thing for them. I mean, they have the kids who are the skateboarders on half pipes, and they're making their own movies, and that goes on YouTube and then gets sponsored. So,
but they did have a big.
I will tell you this, though, real quick.